Hi there, welcome. Today we're going to do a full body, getting all the joints moving, breathing, all that good stuff. So starting first on the mat, we're gonna start with getting the lungs warmed up, getting the low belly activated. So legs are in this hip, knee, second toe alignment. Hands are reaching up towards the ceiling, so fingertips kind of reach up, collarbones wide, taking an inhale through the nose and exhaling out through the mouth. Inhale, opening, wiggling the fingers away, and exhale to close, bringing the hands towards each other. Inhale, opening, and exhale, closing. Let's add a little bit of pelvic tilt. So taking an inhale, arching through the low back. So you're increasing the space between the low back and the mat as you open the hands out to the side, and then exhale, imprinting out through the mouth. Inhale, arch. And then exhale, imprinting the low back into the mat. So you're working in these two extremes of the tilt through the hips. So exhale, imprint. Inhale, arch. Letting those ribs expand out to the sides. And then exhale, hugging the ribs together, pulling that low belly in. Just warming up those little stabilizer muscles through the hips. Warming up the breath. Good, letting the jaw soften. Last one here, and exhale. Perfect. Bringing the hands down by your side, coming into some bridges. So we'll start out with that same movement of the pelvic tilt. Inhale, arching. Exhale, imprinting. Low belly draws in. Low back imprints in the mats, into the mat, and then continuing to peel up through the spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, pressing the hands into the mat here, opening the chest, inhaling at the top, and then exhale, softening through the collarbones, breastbone to slowly roll down. So the goal here is to get the hips moving, but then also activating those little stabilizer muscles through the spine. Peeling up, inhaling at the top, exhaling, softening. And if you feel like the spine is moving in kind of like bigger chunks, just going a little bit slower. You can even stop and breathe into kind of a sticky spot, or if there's any kind of pain. Inhale, arching, exhale, imprinting. The value here is in the slowness, so we're going nice and slow, giving the spine the opportunity to really warm up, get blood flow and oxygen to all the discs, all the vertebrae. Good. Last one here, and we're going to hold at the top. Exhale, imprinting, peeling up. At the top, we're going to ground the left leg here, and we're going to walk the right foot heel toe out to the edge of the mat. And then heel toe in, heel toe. So the idea here is that you're keeping the pelvis nice and stable. You can even bring your hands to the sides of the hips here for a little bit of feedback. And we're getting that drive through the left. So the left glute is hopefully activated. Getting a little bit of movement through the ankle, through the calf of that moving leg. Last one here out to the side. And then coming in. Perfect. Holding there. If you feel like you're arching too much through the low back, kind of lower the hips just an inch or two so we're not straining through the low back. And now we're going to come into little taps. So still with that left glute grounded, we're getting a little bit of endurance here. We're going to tap the heel out and back in. And so I like to inhale as I tap out, exhale to bring that leg in. Inhale, ribs expand, exhale, pulling that low belly in, keeping the spine stable, trying to keep the hips from tipping side to side as you add the asymmetry of the leg. Good. And last 2. And last 1. Hold there. Last thing here on this side. Taking an inhale to prepare, and then exhale, tapping the heel wide. So back in, inhaling, exhaling. We're coming into a little bit of internal rotation through the hips here. And so as you tap out, that knee kind of rotates inward towards the left. Good. And you can use your hands here to help stabilize as you come outside of that midline. Good. Last 1. And then hold there. Inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, rolling down. We're going to do a little reset through the spine there. Inhale, arching. Exhale, imprinting. And now other side. So for this first one, grounding the opposite heel as what was grounded last time. It's like almost like you could play the piano with your toes. And now we're gonna walk heel toe out to the edge of the mat, heel toe back in, pausing there, and then again. So each time the foot comes back into that home position, finding that center through the hips. So you stay parallel, and one hip may not have as much range as the other, and that's okay. So just keep working in that range. You don't want to necessarily dip or try to find more range than is actually there by compensating elsewhere. Good. Hold there. Now we're going to come into our taps. So continue to ground through that stable leg and tapping out, tapping back in. And so the breath pattern here, you want it just to help facilitate that stability through the torso. So you can exhale on the way out, inhale on the way in, whichever pattern you use, just making sure that your breath is working to help you stabilize, using it as a tool. Good. Last 2 and last 1. From there, if you need to lower the hips a little bit too, if you've started to arch through the low back, and then the second tap round is out to the side of the mat. So keeping that stable leg, grounding in. Good. And if for some reason this is just not working, you can always bring the hips down to the mat if you need to. Good. And exhale out. Last 2. And last 1. Holding there. Let's heel toe both legs out as wide as you can. And then internal, external, internal, external. So, and these are just movements that it may seem kind of foreign or weird to begin with, but just keep coming back to them. Keep hearing this kind of new language as far as movement goes, and you'll get it. Last 1. Perfect. Hold there with the heels together, and the knees are out at this angle, so you're in this external rotation. We're going to inhale, lower down just a couple inches, barely touching the mat, and then exhale to lift. Just getting this little bit of extra glute activation to end the bridge series. Tapping, lowering down a couple inches, and then lifting up. Inhaling into the back of the lungs, exhale to lift. Good. Last 1. Good. Holding there, pausing at the top, reaching the knees long, taking an inhale, and then exhale slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae, just lengthening out the lower as you articulate the spine down. Good. At the bottom there, hugging the knees in, give a little roll side to side to release any tension that may have built up during that series. We're going to move on to a chest lift series, which is like a crunch, but we try to lift from the chest, not the chin or the head. So in that hip, knee, second toe alignment with the legs, taking an inhale to prepare, exhale, chin nods to lift up, looking at either the top of the thighs or the knees, and then inhale to slowly lower down. I really like to warm up nice and slow for the first part of the chest lift, just to give yourself an opportunity to articulate through the upper back. So as you're lowering down, the chin draws towards the base of the skull. So the chin is never leading the lift. Good, exhale. Oh, forgot to mention, we want to be in neutral spine here. So the neutral spine is there's a little bit of space between the low back and the mat. So you're not arched, you're also not totally imprinted. Everybody might have a little bit different neutral spine, but just in general, thinking about finding that happy medium of the two extremes of the arch and imprint. So neutral spine, let's restart this. So exhale to lift up. So as you're lifting up, the low back is not changing. You're only going as far up into your lift as you can control the low back. So further is not necessarily better. Lowering down, we want all the right muscles to kind of kick on to support so they can work as efficient as possible. On this next lift, we're going to add in the arc of the right leg up. Inhale to tap the heel down. Exhale to lift up. So as you're initiating this lift up, that low belly draws in at the beginning of the exhale. And then as you're lowering down, keeping the spine nice and stable, and also the hips. So as you lift, you want to think about the hip bones staying parallel, that you're not necessarily tipping to the right side as that leg lifts. On the next one, you're going to hold in a chest lift, hold in this lift, taking an inhale to prepare, and now the left leg comes up to meet, inhale to arc down, exhale to lift. So the right leg stays in this kind of a little bit of endurance movement, and then the left leg moves, staying in this chest lift if you can. If you need to bring your head down for this, if you feel like you're losing control through the low back, bring your head down. But if you can, try to test yourself. Last one. And then leaving that leg down, taking an inhale, and then lowering down on your inhale, and then exhale to lift up and extend the right leg. So it's an inhale to lower down, bending the knee, and then exhale to extend. Inhale, exhale. If you feel like you can control the low back, you can bring that leg up to 90 for a little bit more of an endurance challenge. But if you feel like the hips are tipping back and forth, or the low back is not stabilizing, you feel like you're arching or imprinting, bring that leg down. It's always better to have form over pushing it too far. Last one, holding in with that knee bent, and now taking an inhale, exhale, floating that left leg back up to 90 if it isn't there, and then reaching the right hand across. Inhale, arcing down, opening the right hand, eyes follow the hand, exhale to reach across. Inhaling into the back of the lungs, exhale, inhale. And if this is too much, you can always bring the right leg down to support. Inhale if you feel like you're losing that control through the torso. Two more. I'm going to bring that right leg up. Inhale and exhale. Last one. We're going to hold in the lift with that hand crossing, tapping the top of the leg, taking an inhale, exhale, extend the left leg. Inhale, exhale, extend. We can kind of look to the left as that leg extends. Exhale. Last two. And last one. Perfect. Unwind, coming out of it. If you need to shake your legs side to side, release any tension, do so. Now moving on to the left side. So hands behind your head, taking an inhale, exhale, begin to arc that left leg up. Inhale, exhale. So as much as we'd like to be symmetrical, we're not. We do all kinds of asymmetrical things all day. So one side might feel different than the other, which is another reason why it's kind of nice to focus on one side and then focus on the other. Last two with the arc. And then we're going to hold that left leg at the top, hold in the chest lift, connecting the low belly. So ribs draw in, that low belly draws in, taking an inhale, exhale, arcing the right leg up to meet the left. Inhale, exhale. Feeling the chin kind of draw back to the base of your skull so that lift is coming through the chest. Inhale, exhale. Last two. Inhale, exhale. And last one. Good. Lowering that leg down. Inhale the chest down. And then exhale, lift, extending that left leg straight. Inhale and exhale. For a little bit more of a challenge, you can keep that right leg at 90. Inhaling into the back of the lungs. Exhale, connect through the ribs. Exhale to lift. And last two. And last one. Now, holding there, or you can also bring that left leg down, but if you can, hold there and then arcing the left leg there. Exhale, reaching across. Inhaling into that left side body. Exhale, reach. Nice, gentle, kind of pull through the toes, flexing the toes. You can point them too if you like, but just kind of be intentional about your foot position so they're not just hanging there. Good. Keeping neutral as you cross the body. Not using the chin to initiate the lift. Last one, hold at the top, taking an inhale, and then exhale, straighten the right. Inhale, exhale. And last two. And last one. Good. Releasing down. From there, we're going to do a nice juicy stretch through the spine. This is kind of a diagonal stretch. So the knees come off to one side and then you look to the opposite side. Using the exhale to bring the knees across to the other side. Inhaling into the side body of the direction you're looking. Exhale to switch. Inhale. Getting that second round. Sometimes you can come a little bit deeper into your stretch. And exhale to bring the knees across. Inhale, wiggling the fingers away from your eyes. And then back to center. From there, we're going to roll on over into quadruped position. So with this quadruped position, we're going to bring our hands right underneath, or our wrists right underneath our shoulders and our knees right underneath our hips. If for some reason you kind of have tender wrists, and that is not a happy position for your wrists, you can bring some weights right underneath if you have them, or kind of roll up a mat, just anything to elevate your wrists to take the pressure off. For me though, I feel okay with being on my hands, so I'm going to be kind of flat on my hands there. The first series, we're going to start out with our left leg arcing up, so taking an inhale and exhale, arc the leg up towards the ceiling. So I'm keeping this 90-degree bend as I arc, and I'm flexing the toe at the top. Inhale and exhale, pulling that low belly in as you extend up. You also want to think about staying in neutral spine. So as that leg comes up, you're only going up as far as you can and not dipping down into your low back. So your tailbone reaches long. Exhale, collarbones are open. Head stays in alignment with your spine. So, and what I mean by that is your head is reaching. So even as you lift, you're not letting that chin nod. Inhale down, exhale, lift. Last one, and we're gonna add on. So continuing with the arc up, and then tapping the mat down, and then opening the leg out to the side. So the leg is kind of like a kickstand out to the side. Toes are gently flexed, and then we're gonna rock the hips back. And then back forward, squaring up, bending the knee in, and exhale to arc up. Inhale to come down, exhale to kick that leg out to the side. Your side might be the diagonal, it doesn't matter. So it all just depends on your hip mobility, flexibility, sending your hips back so you get a little bit of this stretch through the upper back, through the low back, back in, arc, tap, out, sending the hips back, and in, up, down, tap, good, flexing, reaching those sit bones, these are your sit bones, back, in, up, good, 2 more rounds here. After this, good, and up, down, out, sitting back, and last one, and out, good. Let's hold here for a couple, inhaling forward, exhaling back, inhale, exhale. Nice, last one. Perfect. Now coming into a little bit of opposite arm, opposite leg. So your leg is going to extend back straight, and we're going to lift opposite arm, opposite leg forward, and then back down. This is what it looks like from the other side. So lifting, inhaling down, and I'm just going to place my hand right here as I come down. I'm not going to come right back to there. So that hand lifts and the palm faces inward. Exhale. And you'll see that I'm really trying to work in a range where my mobility allows. So I'm not lifting higher so my low back kind of sags toward the mat. And every day might be different. So your hip mobility might be different on Monday than it is on Sunday, depending on what you did the day before, all that good stuff. Last one. From there, I want to hold the hand in that position, and now we're going to lift the leg and just draw little tiny circles with the leg. Little slow circles. Again, the benefit of this is in the speed, reverse directions, standing tall into the shoulder of the standing hand. Good, last one. And now from there, hold the leg straight and just circling the ankle. So here, keeping the hips square, collarbones are facing the mat, reversing the spin of the foot. Good. And then coming all the way down. Perfect. From there, sit back into a stretch, a child's pose. And let's move to the other side. Actually, before I move to the other side, let's give the wrists a little bit of a break. Let's spin the opposite direction. And then from there, we're going to come onto our elbows. So with this position, we're going to have the elbows right underneath the shoulders, and we're going to come into a little bear hold. And this is kind of a nice little wrist break, but also still getting that stability through the low belly, through the torso. So curling the toes underneath, and the knees are right underneath the hips, taking an inhale to prepare, inhaling through the nose, exhaling, and lifting, hovering the knees just an inch or two off of the mat, and then inhale to lower down, exhale to lift. Collarbones are nice and wide. Inhale to lower, exhale to lift. We're going to do 2 more and then make the movement a little bit bigger. Exhale to lift. Inhale to lower, exhale. And then on the next one, we're going to lift and straighten the legs as much as possible. Drawing the heels towards the mat. Inhale to slowly lower and tap, and then exhale to re-extend. As you're moving through this, it's really important to slowly bring the knees to the mat, so we're not just crashing down to the mat. Toes are spread wide, tapping down, exhale up, inhale, keeping the collarbones wide, last 2, inhale, tap, and last one, all the way down. Good. From there, walk the hands off to the right side, off to the left, just getting a little stretch through the shoulders. Now we'll move over to the other side. So from here, hands right underneath the shoulders, wrists right underneath the shoulders, I should say. Neutral spine. Begin with the arc of the right leg up. Inhaling down. Exhaling to lift up. So this side might feel different than the other, just like everything else. So you want to think about squaring the shoulders as you add the lever of the leg, squaring the hips. Inhale, keeping the head in alignment. Exhale to lift. And last one. And then we're going to add on. So it's a tap down, extend the leg straight, flexing the toes just a little bit towards your knees as your leg extends out, sitting back into the sit bones, forward, in, extend, and out, straighten, sitting back. And again, if your range of the extend is more on a diagonal like this, so it's kind of back in the corner there, that's okay. Eventually, you may be able to get it all the way out to the side, or you may not. It doesn't really matter. The point that matters is that we are kind of lubricating the hip joint, getting a nice stretch, staying controlled through the torso as we move from end point to end point. Good. And getting some breathing in, using our breath as a tool, so when we do other activities, we can kind of engage that and use it to our advantage. So from here, let's hold, and then inhaling forward, exhaling back, inhale, getting that pull, stretch through the inside of the leg if you're not super Gumby. Good. Last one. And then coming all the way in. Perfect. From there, we're going to extend the right leg long. So this is the opposite side of what we just did. And then I'm going to reach the right hand kind of just in front of me, and I'm on the tippies of my fingers there. So taking an inhale and then exhale, lifting up. Inhale, tapping down, kind of flexing the toes, and then exhale, pointing the toes as you straighten the leg. Inhale, exhale. That fancy footwork just kind of creates a different little subtle difference in the movement. So if the footwork is not something that you're focused on, that's okay. More importantly, using the breath to initiate the movement, using the torso to keep that the stabilization through the low back. Good. Exhale. Good. Last one. And then hand comes down, so you're a little bit offset, standing tall into that standing hand. Now lifting that leg and making circles starting at the hip socket. So that hip joint is where the movement kind of originates. Just spinning that leg bone in the hip socket, nice and slow. Reversing directions. Good. And nice and slow. Little circles. And then hold. Low belly draws in. And now just spinning at the ankle. So that leg is static. Spinning. Reversing directions. Hips are still right over that standing knee. And then release. Coming down. Sitting back. Give yourself a little tail wag, side to side. And shrugging up, shrugging down. And rolling up. Rolling the shoulders back. From there, we're going to come into a little side lying position. So I'm going to start on the right side. But a lot of this stuff if you are on the left, it's fine. We do the same side to side. So if you get confused and off, just do the opposite on the other side. So with this, we're going to shrug. The elbow is right underneath the shoulder, and my hips are stacked and straight up towards the ceiling. So I'm not too far open or too far forward. And we're going to shrug the shoulder up and then shrug down. So I'm arcing that waist away. So here I'm letting the waist arc towards the mat and then down. So what we're doing here is we're getting this movement through the shoulder blade, this nice kind of flossing movement. Good. So shrugging up. Sometimes our shoulder blades get really stuck, either if we work at computers or we have like very forward-facing jobs, or even just our phones, all that good stuff. So we're just kind of trying to move the shoulder blades a little bit. So from there, let's hold up in this standing position through the shoulder. You are standing on your arm there. And we're going to open the hand up towards the ceiling and then threading the needle in between the waist and the mat. And then opening back up, inhaling and exhaling, folding forward. Inhale, open, and exhale. So this way we're moving the shoulder blade in a little bit different way. So rotating forward and then drawing the shoulder blade back. Perfect. Last one here. And now moving into some endurance. Now the shoulder blade's moving nicely. We can stabilize. So knees, you're in this 90-degree angle through the legs. The heels are in alignment with the sit bones. Taking an inhale to prepare. Exhale to lift the hips and reach the hand overhead. Inhale, down, exhale, lift. Inhaling down and exhaling to lift and arcing the side body away from the mat. Feeling that shoulder blade draw down towards your hip. Good. Adding on this next one, so we're going to arc and then straighten that top leg. Inhale down, controlling, staying stacked. Exhale to lift. Inhale down, exhale, turning the head to look at the crease of the elbow if you need. If there's any tension through the neck. Perfect. Last one. And we're going to hold here for a little bit of endurance. So I'm going to let that inner border of the foot tap the mat and then lift, hand sweeps. Inhale, I'm turning my head as my foot comes to the mat, and then exhale, giving the side of my leg a little high five. Inhale and exhale. Really press into that leg, and the leg presses back. Last two. And last one. Perfect. From there, lowering the hips. And bring the bottom leg forward, and we're going to do a little side body stretch there. If this is not a comfortable position for you, you can stay in this stacked position, or your feet can come straight out in front of you, just like that. We're still going to get that side body stretch. Perfect. From there, moving over to the other side. So with this, setup is the same. Elbow right underneath the shoulder. Taking an inhale, shrugging up, and then exhale, shrugging down. Inhaling into that side body, so you're really accessing all parts of the lungs there. And inhale, shrug up, exhale. You can even add in a reach of this top hand, just kind of like we did on the second part of the other side. So inhaling, last one, and letting, perfect. Standing tall into that shoulder, taking an inhale to reach, and then exhale, threading through in between the waist and the mat. Good. Standing tall through that shoulder. So as you thread through, you're not letting the chest draw towards the mat. You're still keeping that press away. It's just the chest rotates towards the mat. Good. Two more. Inhale, lengthening the collarbones. Exhale, pulling that low belly in. Last one. And perfect. Now that that shoulder is moving, let's start into our lifts. So from there, taking an inhale, exhale, lifting the hips up and lowering down. Inhale, exhale, pulling that low belly in to lift. If you want to float the knee up a little bit, you can. Good. Allowing the head to turn. And adding on, straightening, and inhale, exhale, reaching, inhaling down, standing nice and tall through that elbow, exhale, reach through that leg, making sure the inner border of the leg is parallel. So you don't want to always be looking down at your foot, but the first time you come up, you can kind of look and see, and it probably will feel like you need to slightly internally rotate that leg. It'll feel maybe a little bit of a foreign movement, but that's okay, because we want to try to get that internal. Good. Holding at the top here, and then standing tall into that shoulder, allowing the hand to sweep across, and then lifting here. Really important that the inner border of the foot stays parallel, so you're only lifting as high as you can. Keep that inner border parallel. Good. Inhaling into that side body. Exhale, connecting through the ribs, bringing that low belly in. Last two. Standing tall through that shoulder, pushing the waist away from the mat. Good, and last one. From there, lowering down nice and slow, bringing that front leg in, kind of forward for a stretch. Inhaling there and exhaling to come up. Good, shrugging the shoulders back. Nice job. From here, we're going to open up the chest a little bit. So if you have tender wrists, you can grab hold of those weights, or you can also do this on your elbows. It will be a little bit more challenging on your elbows, but that's okay. Challenge is good. We just don't want any pain or anything like that. So I'm going to show you first on my hands, and then I'll show you on the elbows for the second round, or after a couple. So, all right, so heels will be just kind of, they don't have to be right underneath the knees, but they're just kind of forward of the knees a little bit. You're sitting on your sit bones, so both sit bones are grounded. Your chest is nice and open. Taking an inhale, and then exhale, lifting the hips up, keeping the chin nodded forward, so you don't need to lift the chin too much back, and then tapping down, inhaling and exhaling, pulling that low belly in, inhaling to tap, exhaling to lift. So if you can lift all the way up here, that's great, but really we want to focus on just the lift and the slow descent, tapping the sit bones. Good, so that control, up and down. So this is what it'll look like if you're on your elbows. You'll have much smaller range. Taking an inhale, exhale, lift, and lower down. Exhale, lift, shoulders stay nice and extended out to the side so the collarbones are wide. Good. Last two here. And last one. Good. From there, we're going to extend the legs out, still in this bent knee position. And we're just going to roll back a little bit and roll forward. So your sit bones are grounded. If you have a little bit of extra flesh in the bum there, you can kind of move it to the side so you really ground the sit bones. Feeling like there's a little magnetism between the knees, hands just behind the knees. Taking an inhale, and you're standing nice and tall, so the ribs are right over the hips, shoulders right over the ribs for this first part, and then tipping back, rolling, rounding, chin nods, and then stacking back up. So we're starting first with this kind of pelvic tilt, so the sacrum tips back towards the mat. The sacrum is at the base of the spine, and rounding forward, chin nods, and then back up. So the hands are there to really allow you to control this roll, even and equal, and then back up. So keep the hands there, even if you feel like you have the strength to control back with no hands. Good. Inhaling to tip back. Tip, tip, tip. And I have a really flat spine, low back, so it may not even look like I am, but you really want to round in that C shape. Let's do a couple with the hands floating. So tipping back, just keeping that same beautiful organization that you had, going back as far as you can kind of control, pulling the low belly in. You don't want to feel like your belly pooches forward. That means you've lost the deep abdominal connection, and then rolling forward. So we're tipping back, rolling back through those sit bones, and then rolling to the forward front of the sit bones. Two more here. If you need to have your hands behind your head, behind your legs still, if you don't feel like, if this is scary or you don't feel like you can control it, definitely have that extra bit of support. It's more about moving the spine with control than pushing yourself in a weird way and losing form. Last one. This is probably more than I said. And then holding at the top. Nice. From there, we're going to spin around and come into a little kneeling position here. So hands are going to be out front, hips are right over the knees, ribs right over the hips, shoulders hanging out there. And we're going to begin with this kind of, it's called knee stretch. Good. So as we kind of rock back, our torso stays in this bone stacked position. Bone stacked, which means ribs right over the hips, hips right over the knees, and then shoulders and head just kind of stay stacked on top. Good. And so your range, as you come back, you may want to kind of sit back, but try to avoid that. So you're only working in the range where you can stay in that bone stacked position. So it'll look different for everybody. You may just come back this far, and that's okay. So another thing to mention, if this hurts your knees, you can also kind of do this on a blanket, or just kind of sit this out and come into a quadruped position here, kind of doing something like this, alternating, still getting this nice organized movement. But yes, so from there, we're going to do one more opening, out to the side, and then other side. This is kind of the second variation here. Inhale, open, still staying bone stacked. Inhale, and other side, last one, holding there. From there, we're going to come into a little lunge series. So if you are doing something alternative, if this hurts your knees, come back to this because we're not going to spend very much time here on your knees. So come join us again, I should say. So we're going to step 1 foot forward, driving through that front heel, curling the back toes, and still in that bone stacked position when we get up. So I'm going to kind of tilt forward at an angle there, and then bend back nice and slow to the mat. And again, if this doesn't work for your hip range, you can use something to hold on to kind of push yourself up. And then as you bend to come back in, you just lessen the range. So instead of coming all the way to the mat, you can just come about halfway down. Good. Making sure you're more grounded through the heel of the front leg than the toe. Good. Just getting that stacked position and then that lean forward position. Stacked and lean forward. Good. Last 2. And on this last one, we're going to hold at the top. Perfect. So finding this square hip position. And we're going to begin to hop the back leg side to side. Inhaling, exhaling, using the breath as your tool. So making sure that you're continuing to breathe as you hop the legs. Good, staying in that neutral spine, bones stacked. Woo. Good. It's a little bit of a balance challenge. Good. Last one, landing back in that parallel alignment. So the inner borders of the feet are facing inward, not necessarily the heel out like a yoga pose. And then we're going to clap behind the front shin and then clap it forward in the shin. Clap behind, forward, chest is open. And last 2. And last one. Perfect. From there, coming down out of it. If you would like to switch standing up, you can. I'm going to unwind to that tall kneeling position and then walking the other foot forward, curling the toe underneath, driving through that front heel, taking an inhale, exhale, straightening up. Keeping the sit bones reaching long as you come up. Wiggling the front toes. Inhale. Tapping the knee. Exhale to stand back up. Inhale if you're coming about halfway down. Exhale to stand back up. Inhale and exhale. Good. Inhale. Exhale. Perfect. Last 3. And hands can be out in front, or if you want to check in with the hips, you can. And then last 1, holding in this kind of diagonal forward position. So we're not rounding, we're still in that bone stacked position. Ribs are hugging in, and then hopping. Nice slow hops side to side. Hips will kind of spin as the leg crosses midline, as it goes wide. And that's good. We want to find that stability in the hip socket. Good. Creating a little bit of balance challenge here. Last 2. And last 1. Coming down, squaring the hips. Toes are facing forward towards the top of the mat. Heel is facing back. And clapping behind. Forward, chest is open. Behind and forward, especially as you start to get tired. Keeping the collarbones nice and open. Head is in alignment with your spine. Woo. And then last 1. And coming all the way down. Again, if being on your knees is not a happy place, you can do this last little bit standing. We're gonna take an inhale, roll the shoulder blades back, and then rolling forward. Slowing the roll, taking an inhale, and exhale, chin nods towards the chest. My hands are on top of my legs here. If you're standing, you can also do that or let them hang. Rolling, rounding, using the friction of my hands to really slow that roll all the way down. Hips can kind of come back, but you want to resist them coming back. Taking an inhale at the bottom of your roll down, and then exhale, slowly rolling up, stacking vertebrae by vertebrae, rolling the shoulders back, taking a big inhale up towards the sky, wiggle the tail, up onto your tippy toes if you're standing. If not, big breath out to the ground. Awesome. Good job, everybody. Give me a shout if you like this class or you have questions, comments, all that good stuff. I love hearing from you, and I hope that you have an awesome day. All right. See you next time. Bye.